Hi there, I'm Nina Goradia. Today I want to talk about self-compassion and healing shame. This goes for healing narcissistic traits, codependent traits, traumas. This heals it all. The things that we're most ashamed of or feel most tender that we don't want to look at, these are the things that need our compassion the most. So it's this radical self-acceptance. It doesn't mean, oh, I can just do whatever and I don't take responsibility. And no, it doesn't mean that. But it's about, hey, this has already happened. This is here in my body. What do I do about this? If I keep feeling ashamed about this and running from it, I'm going to keep causing more destruction in life. That's what happens. There's this shame cycle. I feel shame and I don't want to feel it. I might do something destructive and then I feel shame and then I come back. The only thing that can break this is self-compassion. So this cycle is very common in alcoholism, right? So shame, drink to not feel the shame, feel shame for having drank. So there's a quote attributed to the Buddha saying that our sorrows and wounds can only heal when they're touched by compassion. And I've definitely found this to be true in my direct experience, as well as working with clients, that when we're holding space for these things, they integrate. They're allowed to be seen, and then they come back into the whole of my experience, and they're not kind of pushed off in separate places where I'm fracturing or fragmenting parts of my experience. I'm integrating them back in when I do that. So I'm saying something pretty similar to my videos about self-empathy. So this is something where if the word compassion resonates for you more than empathy, they are slightly different. Empathy is like being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. However, when it's self-empathy, you are that person, and so you want to really feel the sensations that you're feeling right then and there. But maybe the part about putting yourself in your own shoes might be when you were a child. So trying to put yourself into the shoes of the child you, that could be very helpful. And with this compassion, we're applying it in a very similar way, but you can also have intellectual compassion for what you're going through, as well as somatically, just giving it this presence of compassion, scanning what comes up when the shame is arising for you in your body, and just really looking at it like, oh yeah, I see, this is what you felt when that happened. I see. There's nothing wrong with you. Makes sense that you felt this way. Makes sense that these feelings came up. You didn't even control that they came up. Just notice the tenderness and the gentleness that we want to address these wounds with. And so this takes care of it all, folks. You just need to keep showing up for yourself and your experiences of this compassion. Now, it doesn't mean that compassion is enough. It's not, right? There's that Buddhist analogy about the bird with the two wings. One side's compassion, but the other side is insight or wisdom. You need both for this bird to be able to fly. So we do want to also be introspective. We want to gain clarity about how we want to be, but we also need to make sure we're showing up for ourselves with compassion. So the more self-aware I become, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that in the past, right? That's the normal thing that happens for people. So judgments might come up. And again, in Buddhism, that's why they say when you're doing this kind of mindfulness work, like, oh my gosh, oh, I can't believe, and you're trying to reconcile that you're balancing it with the loving kindness or metta work. So I'm not even talking about practicing Buddhism right now. These are just analogies I happen to correlate in my own process, but this is something you can just do in a very practical way that makes sense for you. Like, okay, I'm just noticing things about myself that, I'd like to shift, but in order for them to shift, I have to meet them with compassion. I have to meet them kindly where they're at. I can't just override and just make myself be different. It's not built on the correct foundation. At some point, you got to feel through what's underneath that particular behavior. You want to feel through the feeling and be really, really nice to it because that's all it wants from you. That's how kids want to be treated. They just want people to be nice to them. And so that's a gift you can give to yourself. Whether you had that kind of childhood or not, you can give that to yourself now in your self-talk, in the way that you are with your feelings, the relationship that you have with yourself. So as you do that, it's going to melt away the ego defenses that have been built in response to not feeling shame, whether that's narcissistic traits. I'm not one for too many labels, but I think it can convey a lot of information quickly. Okay, like people kind of have the gist of what we're talking about when we say that, or whether it's building up an ego structure that's the inverse of that, where it's like, oh my gosh, nothing I do is enough and I have to give it all away, and, and the codependence of whatever it is. Maybe it's a totally different trauma. And so just keep meeting yourself and your experience kindly, and you can see how much is integrated. Let me know if you tried this before. If you're going to try it right now, feel free to share how it went for you. I hope it helps. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.